Okay, let's just dive right in. The title is pretty shocking, right? Kill your uncles and sleep well. It comes from this really intense moment in the ancient text, the Bhagavad Gita. And honestly, it gets right to the heart of something we all struggle with. How do you take necessary, often really painful action in your own life?
So the source material we're digging into today from an author named Roll Smelt just nails the problem with this one quote. The real fight, it isn't the one with swords and shields. It's the one that happens inside your own head, that paralyzing moment right before you have to make the first move.
So try to picture this. You've got this legendary warrior Arjuna sitting in his chariot, geared up for the biggest battle of his life. But when he looks out across the battlefield, he doesn't see a faceless army. He sees his mentors. He sees his family, the very people who made him who he is. And he just freezes. This is where it all starts.
And that brings us to the first piece of this puzzle, that brutal instruction, kill your uncles. This is the actual advice given to a frozen Arjuna by his guide, the god Krishna.
And let's be super clear here. In the story, this is not a metaphor. The command is literally to do what must be done, to fulfill your duty, even if that duty means fighting your own family. I mean, it's an impossible choice, and it brings up the big question. How can you possibly move forward when the personal cost feels so unbelievably high?
Now let's see how this ancient problem is something we all face. We're going to call it the modern paralysis. You know, Arjuna's crisis on the battlefield isn't just some old myth. It's a deeply human thing that modern science is actually starting to understand.
What Arjuna is experiencing is what some psychologists call an inaction crisis. And it's that horrible sinking feeling when you know exactly what you need to do. You need to leave the job, you need to have that tough conversation, but you find yourself completely physically unable to do it. Have you ever felt that? You're just stuck. You know the way, but your feet feel like they're glued to the floor. That's the paralysis.
So, why does this happen? This slide gives us the why. Arjuna is totally trapped what's called controlled motivation. He's worried about what other people expect, about tradition, about his so-called duties, and all that external pressure, it leads straight to paralysis. The way out, according to Krishna, is to find autonomous motivation, to act from a place that is genuinely, authentically yours. That's what sets you free to act decisively while also letting go of how it all turns out.
So, okay, how do we find that? How do we get unstuck? Well, this section introduces the core idea, this amazing framework for understanding it all, the magician and the monk.
Think of these as two essential energies that we all have to learn to balance. On one hand, you've got the magician. This is the builder in you, the creator, the doer. It's the part that pushes forward and makes things happen in the world. It builds our sense of self. And then you've got the monk. The monk is the dissolver, the part that lets go, that releases, that finds peace by stepping back and taking apart the very things the magician worked so hard to build.
And this right here, this is the whole game. The magician builds ego. The monk dissolves ego. This is the process. See, it's not about choosing to be one or the other. Life is this dynamic cycle between the two. It's this constant rhythm of building up and then letting go.
Okay, this leads us to a really important distinction, commitment versus attachment, because it's so easy to hear letting go and think it just means not caring. But that's not it at all. The truth is way more powerful.
I mean, it's a fair question, right? If the monk phase, the part where we let go, is where we find all the peace and relief, then why not just skip all the stressful magician stuff? Why not just shortcut straight to being a monk all the time?
And here's the answer. And it's so powerful because it feels a little backwards. You don't just get to let go. True release isn't a life hack. It's a reward. You actually earn the right to the monk's peace, and you earn it by doing the magician's work first.
Just think of it like a two-step dance. Step one is the magician phase. You go all in. You build, you create, you commit. And yeah, tension and stress, they build up. That's part of it. But only then can you move to step two, the monk phase, where you consciously let go of what you built. And that's when all that built-up pressure transforms into this incredible relief. You just can't get that deep release without the pressure first.
So you can really boil this entire philosophy down to this one beautiful, simple sentence. Be committed every day, but do not be committed to the outcome. Show up, do the work, pour everything you have into the action, and then release your death grip on what happens next.
All right, let's bring this all home. Final section. What must be done? We're coming full circle, right back to that wild command to kill your uncles, but now we're looking at it with this new magician and monk framework.
So what are you actually killing? Well, it's almost never a person. As this slide shows, it's the structures your inner magician has built. It's the business that's run its course. It's an identity that just doesn't fit you anymore, a family expectation that's just crushing you. It's about letting a version of yourself die so that a new one has space to grow.
And that's exactly why you need both. A magician without a monk becomes a tyrant, completely obsessed with results, and then totally crushed when things don't go their way. But a monk without a magician, they can just float away, confusing being passive with being wise. The real power is holding the tension between both.
So the final takeaway, the big idea, is this simple two-part instruction. Do what must be done. Commit. Go all in. And then, let it go. Completely. That's it. That's the path through paralysis.
And that brings us to the final question. And this one is for you. Think about your own life, all the things you've built, the person you've worked so hard to become. What pressure have you built up, and what necessary action have you finally earned the clarity to take?